Welcome back. It's a Wednesday. They say Wednesday is a ladies' night. We don't say that at Marcus today. We actually say now Wednesday is increasingly becoming the ladies' afternoon. And I say that because I have powerful and impactful women who've joined us today for this show. We will be having 2 interviews, so I want you to stay glued to your screen, pick up a pen and paper. We want to learn. But without further ado, let me introduce Florence Kiburi, who is the Senior Manager for the Supply Chain Department at Safaricom, but she's also part of the team that has delivered Women in Business program at Safaricom. Women in Business is a program that was launched in 2017, and its focus, its mandate, its objective is to actually empower women from an economic standpoint by providing visibility and action points when it comes to procurement. Women in Business is all about increasing the procurement allocation for women businesses, either owned or held by women in this country, from where it was to 10%. And I have been following this conversation for a while, and it was as low as 2% at some point, and it is increasing and getting to the 10% mark. So we want to take a deep dive and understand what is women in business, and more importantly, what are some of the opportunities that are emergent. As I said before, if you are a man, do not leave the screen. This is a space where we're talking about opportunities for women, but business opportunities don't know a woman, neither do they know a man. So without further ado, a very warm welcome to you, Florence Kiburi. Karibu sana.
Thank you for having me.
All right, you look radiant, energized, and ready to go.
Thank you.
All right, so Florence, women in business. What is women in business? What do we understand when we talk about women in business at Safaricom?
Women in business in Safaricom is a movement that was started to anchor sustainable development goals. As you recall and you mentioned in your introduction, Sustainable Development Goals were launched in 2015, and Safaricom made a strategic decision to run with 9 of the 17. And one of those is SDG number 10, which is about reducing inequalities within and among countries. And what had happened at that time is that within Safaricom, we were trying to live to our purpose, which is transforming lives. Okay. And in so doing, we were trying to ensure that we give opportunities to people and part of our communities who are more vulnerable, whether this is the young people, whether this is the people living who are differently enabled, and women in business. And so when we adopted the Sustainable Development Goals, we said there's an important aspect that we would want to champion, which is reducing inequalities that was being faced by women in business. And so what did we do? We said let's look at what we had at that point in time, which was March 2017. And when we analyzed our data, we actually found out that out of the 1,000 active vendors that we had in Safaricom, only 27 of them were women owned, and that was 2.7%. Mm-hmm. And then when you looked at the spend, where these 27 were playing, it was in the low spend category. As you know, we are a technology company.
Yes. And
so the big spend, like you have mentioned, is actually in the technology space, IT space, and in construction. Okay. And in there, the women-owned businesses were not playing big. And so therefore, we had commitment from the CEO that we needed to move the percentage of the women who are working with Safaricom from 2.7% to 10% by 2020 and to 15%
yes.
by 2030.
Okay.
And so we started the journey. And the journey, as I have indicated, was to deep dive and look at these 27, where are they? What are the issues? And we had conversation with them. And so we understood what was working for them, what was not working, and what we could work together.
Okay.
And with now the support from the top and with the target set, we started our journey. And how we started our journey was to try and understand all the other organizations within the country
yes.
that were doing something to empower women. What were they doing?
Okay.
So we picked those learnings and we said, what would be our differentiator? Because for us, we really wanted something that was going to be impactful.
All right.
And transformative.
Okay.
And so we said, for us, we will do the training, we'll do the mentorship, but more importantly, we will work with the women to make sure that they get the job opportunities, the
Okay.
tenders, the big, the
Yes.
high value tenders,
Wow. All right.
and then support them to deliver that.
Okay.
And so in 2017, we started advocacy to tell many people that Safaricom is committed to changing the narrative and to have more women in business working for Safaricom.
Okay.
So we started recruitment, we started trainings, and the trainings were not just about the technology per se. It was also about the soft skills. How do you manage teams? How do you manage contract relationships? How do you manage performance? Because as you would appreciate, Safaricom is very successful.
Yes, it is.
And it's also because of the expectations of the company from the partners, whether these partners could be dealers or suppliers in this particular case. And so we really wanted, as we recruited more women to join the program, we also had to make sure that they are properly trained,
Okay.
they have the competence and the capacity that is required.
Okay.
But what was interesting is that in 2018, which was 1 year down the road from
yes, it's-
2017
okay.
to 2018,
Yes.
we looked at the number of women who had come on board after all the calls we had made, the public calls, after all the recruitment.
Yes.
And we were surprised that we had actually moved the number from 27 to 108.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, in different categories,
Oh,
yes.
interesting.
Yeah,
Okay,
in
so
very
from
many
20, so in 1 year you moved from 27 to 108.
to 108.
Okay.
But what was interesting is that when we inspected, when we looked at the 108, we still realized that we were not having the numbers we needed in the technology category. We also had very few in IT space,
Okay.
which is information technology.
But let me just interject
Yes.
there. Allow me to interject first.
No, that's fine.
When you talk about, we had a little number in the technology, and the majority of the women-led businesses
Yeah.
were in the low value tenders.
Yes.
Maybe elaborate for us. So you work in a technology company. When you talk about low value tenders, what kind of businesses are this? When you talk about high value tender, what kind of businesses are this? I mean, without necessarily crossing any boundaries, so that we can understand when you talk about technology, are we talking about a phone? Are we talking about using an app to deliver mandazi to the office? Is that technology? What are we talking about? High value and low value?
Yeah, I'll start with the high value,
Okay.
because that is where we always encourage women to play in.
Yes.
I must say, overall, by the way, we have more than 100 sourcing categories that women and men could play in.
Yes.
So when we talk about the high spend categories, we are talking about the construction, you know, like the BTSs, base stations.
Okay.
Those ones, that's high spend. We are also looking at technology. We build a lot of platforms.
Okay.
Platforms like the M-Pesa platform. We build a lot of platform, and that's also very high spend.
So that, is that for
Construction.
developers now?
Yes.
Okay.
It's also for developers, but then what would happen is that if a woman has got a pool of developers,
Yes.
and that has been the case in the past,
Okay.
they bring the developers in and they play in that space.
Wow.
And then we have the construction. We are always refurbishing our shops. We are always doing the construction, whether that is for fiber, for sites. We have a lot of construction that goes on.
Okay.
So technology, it will be, you know, the fiber, it will be the BTSs, like I've said, it will be the radio, the equipment that goes into building the technology per se.
Okay. All right.
So that is what is high spend. And we always encourage women. That is where the numbers are. Because
Yes.
remember, our mandate was also to move the spend.
Yes.
Now, when you come to the low value, it's not low value per se, because there are some companies which are established and they thrive in those areas.
Yes.
But we are talking about travel.
Okay.
Like in this season, you see what has happened.
Yes.
Travel for us, yes, there'll be 1 billion, but it's still too,
Yes.
it's a low value compared
Yes.
to the technology where we have about like 35 billion. You're talking about catering services, again, hundreds of millions. But in our environment, when you talk about high spend, we talk about now that technology space, the building, the platforms,
Wow.
you know.
Okay.
And then now, when it comes to the low value, we are talking about these other categories without demeaning any organization,
Yes, of
but
course.
the amount of money relative to the amount of money spent
Okay.
in Safaricom. So
Okay.
it's comparative. In
Yes.
another conversation, what we consider as low value would be the high value. But in our context, that's how
Yes.
we differentiate.
Okay.
That technology is the high spend, then these other categories. Like for instance, events.
Yes.
Events, we spend quite a lot even on in the events that we run.
All right.
And there's quite a significant amount of money if you think about it that's spent there. But that, if you compare it with the amount of money that would be spent in building a platform, then again it looks like building a platform would be the option. And that is why we encourage women. Let us play in the high spend category. And what is amazing is that now following through to asking women, can you come on and register with us? We ran public adverts in 2018 to try and manage that number, because we really needed more women coming into that high spend category. And actually, when we did that and continued with advocacy, today we are very happy to say that from 27,
yes,
we now have 215.
Wow, 215
women who are pre-qualified in different categories.
Fantastic.
But what is even more exciting for me is to see that in 2017 we only had 3 women who are playing actively in the technology space.
Okay.
But today we have 25.
Wow.
When you look at the IT space, we only had 2. Today we have 25.
Okay.
So also more interesting is that in the corporate services, we had 22. Today, we are talking about 166, and the numbers are growing.
Wow.
Why do we continue with this? Is because we are saying that as the company grows, as the technology evolves, as you'd appreciate that the technology keeps on evolving every now and then, there are other opportunities that are coming in.
Okay.
2 years ago, who would have thought Internet of Things would be the talk?
Yes.
So we encourage women that don't just play catch up, but also be on the front line and look out for these opportunities that are there in technology, and really anchor yourself so that you benefit from that. And the other thing that
sorry to interject, you're giving so much, and I feel like I just need to jump in and just
that's fine.
So when you say frontline, what are some of the emergent opportunities? I hear you dropping the words such as Internet of Things. How do I think about it? And especially if I'm not part of the women in business, what should my mind be attuned to in terms of what do I need to understand so that maybe I'm not passing out in terms of opportunities in technology?
Oh, great. Actually, that is it that would answer that. How do you get to know about the opportunities? Now, the Women in Business movement, we normally have workshops.
Okay.
And we encourage the women in business to bring in other potential suppliers with Safaricom.
All right.
Our site for registration is always open.
Okay.
But when we're having these forums, we encourage the women in business to bring their friends, to bring other people.
So then you can, all right.
Yeah, and then for the women in business who are already on our platform, we encourage them to continue having conversation with one another. One of the things that has been very successful, and it's something that I would say is an exemplar in the region, it's the mentorship. We actually call it the mentorship.
Okay.
Where women in 2018 started, and these are CEOs. By the way, when you talk about the numbers here, we are talking about the CEOs, owners and founders of organizations. But what they started doing is to hold one another. So through the mentorship, they hold one another, and in that mentorship, you're not just talking about how do you manage the team, how do you get the equipment, but more importantly is to understand from one another. So what are the new trends? What are the opportunities?
Okay.
Can we do collaboration? Like most of them now are doing collaborations to win and to support each other in those big tenders. So to know about the opportunity, I always encourage women that it's our responsibility to also understand what is happening in the space.
Okay.
And number 2, to benefit from one another through mentorship, right? And to also say that what we have found so far is that women can succeed as well as men.
Okay.
Proven.
Yes.
Last year we held our first Safaricom Suppliers Awards ceremony, which was very, very successful. And the top award was won by a woman.
Oh, wow. Okay. Interesting.
And 3 other companies won by women also won awards, right?
Okay.
We have also looked at performance. When women get opportunities and they perform, when you talk to the engineers who are now the contract managers, they are very happy with women's performance because, as you'd appreciate in Safaricom, performance does not know gender.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how we say it on a light way. It doesn't have no gender.
That's true.
But so it delights me when I hear feedback from the contract owners saying that the women we have given work are really performing very well. So to answer your question, The opportunities are there, but we continue encouraging. And I always call out to women that we cannot possibly leave these opportunities.
Yes.
It is our responsibility to know where the opportunities are. It is our responsibility to be in the conversation.
Okay.
Yeah, not just be at the table,
So
but engage in the
engage
conversation.
in the conversation.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So now, when you say that your internal target in terms of women in business was to ramp up the procurement allocation to 10% to women, and you have been doing a lot of activation from 2017 to date. I mean, the numbers move from 27 to 215 women, you're saying, are part of the supply chain. Is there any more opportunity? Are you already at 10% mark, or how far along are you, just to get a sense of, can other women then be part of this procurement opportunity with the firm?
Yeah. The targets in terms of getting more women,
yes,
in the program, we met it because we are actually at 11%.
Okay.
From 2.7 to now 11%.
Yes.
But what is more interesting is that we have gotten women in emerging categories,
okay,
wanting to play in emerging categories. And we have also seen women who are now changing from what they traditionally used to do to
emerging categories.
Emerging categories.
What are these emerging categories?
These emerging categories is what
I'm very curious.
yeah, it is actually the technology space.
Okay.
It's the technology space. You see, we always say that in Safaricom, we always give equal opportunities, actually.
Yes.
But for women, we are more deliberate. That's why we are working with them.
All
Now,
right.
what we have done is that when there's an opportunity within Safaricom, because we have so many traders coming up, what we normally do is that we post our expression of interest on our internet.
Okay.
If you go to our sites, and I welcome you to check that out. There are always opportunities.
Okay.
Whether it is on fuel systems, whether it is on fiber build, whether it is on BTS constructions,
okay,
they are always there. But more importantly is to say, let us look out for opportunities, because as I can tell you today, we are talking about the opportunities that are there,
yes,
which are mainly in the technology space.
But technology is a broad term.
Yeah.
So when you say technology, are you saying the opportunities are BTS in terms of construction? Are the opportunities in terms of what's the demand? Is the demand for you from where you stand to solve platforms? So if someone was watching and trying to think, when I think technology is a broad term. So if I was to narrow it down to maybe 1 or 2 or 3 spaces, what would you say from the top of your mind is becoming something that's an emergent opportunity?
I think that when you look at fiber,
yes,
right now everybody wants to do internet.
Yes.
So in the fiber space, there's a very big opportunity.
Okay.
And I'm happy to say that actually we have, including Christine, who will be talking to us later.
Okay, fantastic.
We have about 11 women who are playing in that space.
All right.
So laying of fiber and connecting customers,
yes,
to fiber, whether that is the connection of internet to homes, internet to businesses, that is a very big space. Mm-hmm. Then, as I have said, in the construction of BTSs, construction of the buildings, there's always constructions that are happening.
All
but
right,
more importantly, where I would not want women to lose out,
yes,
it is using of technologies as an enabler.
Okay.
We really encourage women to come to us with proposals on, hey guys, have you thought about this?
Yes.
And that is why we are very big on innovation.
Okay.
We have a whole department that lands with innovation, and some of the women have also played there and they have succeeded. So to answer your question, we have the opportunities we have now, but what I can guarantee is that in the future there are many more opportunities.
And it's in technology.
It is not just in technology, but I said our focus and where we call out on women is come to technology, because remember, we still have to push the spend.
Fantastic.
However, look at the other categories. For instance, event management. COVID has taught us that we must change the way we used to do events. So today we are looking for those women in business who can redefine how to do events.
Okay.
Even media coverage, it has been redefined.
Yes.
So travel and hotel facility and catering, like you've said, and facility management. Like facility management is a high spend area.
Yes.
So where are the ladies?
Exactly.
These are opportunities we must take. And more important, I must mention this, that what we have also done, which is a really exciting thing about this program, is that according to the statistics by World Bank, it was indicated that small, micro, and medium enterprises quote lack of finances
Oh,
as a reason why.
You preempted my next question. Yes.
Yeah, they don't play big.
Yes.
But so what have we done? What we have done is that we have had conversations with the leading banks in this country, and we have gotten into a memorandum of understanding. And therefore, women will come participate in the tender. And when they participate in the tender, when they get awarded the tender, all they need to do is present the PO or the award to the bank, and they get what we call pure financing. That way, the lady can do whatever size. So that way, ladies are able to scale up and accelerate the growth of their organizations. So, and additionally, our SACCOs, we have encouraged women to join our SACCOs where they can get soft loans.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But more importantly also is that when that lady does the work and finishes, once they invoice Safaricom, they can be able to go to the bank and get what we call invoice discounting.
Okay.
However, as Safaricom, what have we done to help also make sure that women have money to do the project?
Yes.
Is it when we started in 2017, we were paying within 45 days. Today, we are paying within 15 days.
Oh, fantastic.
So it is an excellent
That's quite empowering.
space.
And you need the finances to be empowered.
Yeah, so finances should not be cited as a reason why you cannot play big. And what we are saying is that just be there. I always encourage women, be on the face.
Go join and be proactive and push.
And push, but also important, be willing to learn.
Be willing to learn.
And that is why joining the mentorship for me is the key thing. But also, for me, I also say we cannot do this thing alone. We cannot do this thing alone. As I mentioned, when we started, we wanted to learn. But in the journey, we have partnered with many organizations, whether this is UN Women, whether this is SheTrade, KEPSA, KIM. And what we've been trying to do is to also front these women and tell this organization that here there are women who are market ready, like I like calling them. They are market ready. If you want to get them to do any work, so be it. And then the peer companies have really helped us.
All right, so the partnerships have been helpful.
Yeah, the partnerships have been. So the call out is that we cannot do this thing alone, and we are calling on peer companies, organizations, let's do this so that we leverage on the opportunities that come through sustainable development goals.
Oh, I hope you can partner with us here at Metropole, at least to drive
the communication. You're most welcome.
I think we've run out of time, at least for this particular segment. We need to go on a break. But before we go on a break, maybe you can leave us with a parting shot in as far as everything that we have discussed, so that we can go on a break, then we can bring Christine on to just talk to us, because she has been a beneficiary of Women in Business.
Exactly. Yeah. So what I would say is that as Safaricom, we wanted to leverage on the opportunities that came with Sustainable Development Goals. And we have done our bit. It is still progress. We have not stopped, because as you achieve this objective, you have to aim higher. So we are not here to stop this. But my call to action is to actually say that if we could have more organizations initiate their form of women in business. And I'm very happy because some of the leading organizations, again, in our country, we've been working with them to establish this. And all I'm saying is that let us give women an opportunity, because we have proven that when women are given opportunities, they are extremely good, if not better. So for us is the call. And also, again, to say that the women who are in our program, to continue being very resilient. It is not easy, but they are winning, and they are winning big. So there's a lot of hope. There are so many opportunities, like I've mentioned, and we always encourage women to keep in touch and to look out. It is not for the faint-hearted, but it is working. And what I would like really to also say as a way of encouraging, when we looked at the numbers in April this year, out of the women who are getting tenders with Safaricom, who are now 80 in number, they had employed more than 1,000 people, which is over 400% growth. The revenues have also gone up. You know, so what I'm saying is that Women in Business movement in Safaricom has actually caused a lot of ripple effect, and we have made our contribution to changing lives. However, we are committed to stay the course.
Thank you. Wow, I can't say anything after Florence has given us an overview of women in business. So it's all about economic empowerment. She's been able to talk to us about different opportunities. I won't repeat what she has said. All I'll say is that resilience has to be one of your cornerstones in terms of character traits if you want to succeed in business. And it's not just here, it's also globally. And then finally, I like the challenge and the call that she has actually put out there for women or anybody in business. Stop focusing on the low-hanging fruit. Challenge yourself, grow. It's your responsibility. Start targeting for the high value opportunities in technology. We want to hear what else you have to say in terms of this conversation. If you have any questions, please let us know. 20146 is the SMS line. Bithem Wema or Metropole TV is our social media handle. We take a short break. When we come back, we want to speak to Christine, who is the CEO and the Managing Director of Spectrum Engineering. She has been a beneficiary of working with the women in business community. We want to hear her story, what is so interesting about the work that she's doing, and how can she be able to tell us the opportunities, the challenges, and how she's been able to mitigate. See you in a few. Thank you.